Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at another fun deck that I've been having a good time with on the Pokemon TCG Live Ladder over the last couple of months, and that is Rotom VSTAR. This card is a super interesting one that has, it's floated in and out of my rotation of decks over the last couple of weeks. It's ultimately based around its first attack, Scrap Pulse. For 2 lightning energy, we deal 80 damage, plus we can put any number of Pokemon tool cards from our discard pile into the loss zone, and for each of those tools we deal 40 extra damage. That means that we can hit a relatively large amount of damage with our Scrap Pulse and take some very, very big knockouts. Now, we might not necessarily be able to get those cards into the discard pile easily, but luckily Rotom VSTAR has the VSTAR Power Conversion Star, which means that during this turn, you can use the ability, discard any number of cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. It means if we have a hand full of tools, we can choose to discard all of them, put them in the discard pile, draw that many cards, and then use our attack, which, as I mentioned, can get to some really, really high numbers. Now, we've got a little bit of an issue. A double lightning attack cost for Scrap Pulse is a little awkward, which is why we are running copies of Buzzap Generator Electrode. If this Pokemon's on the bench once per turn for that Pokemon, we can knock it out, our opponent takes a prize, but we get to accelerate lightning energy out of our deck and put them onto our Pokemon in any way that we like, which is very, very strong. Plus, because we are lightning type, we can also use speed lightning energy, which allows us to accelerate through our deck just that little bit more, gives us a bit more reach. Talking about drawing cards, this deck is very good at it. We also run copies of Tower of Darkness, which allows you to discard cards that are single strike in order to draw 2 cards from their deck. We also have a ton of single strike tools that we're running, like Scroll of the Fanged Dragon, which will ultimately just be discard with Tower of Darkness or Conversion Star. We'll discard those, put them in the discard pile, and get massive damage from our Scrap Pulse attack. Now, this list is a lot of fun. I've put it up here on the screen for you. It's also down below in the description. If you want to whip it together, it will cost you about 14,000 credits on PTCG Live, but remember, you get most of these cards for free just by rocking up and creating an account. What we'll do is we'll jump over to some games now so that you can see Rotom VSTAR in action on the ladder. Time to get started. We've got ourselves a Voltorb in the active, one of our 2 basic Voltorbs. Our hand's looking solid. We've got Tower of Darkness and Research, and we are going second, which I can definitely work with. And it looks like we are going up against Duraludon VMAX, which is a deck that would normally have really strong matchups. In this instance here, it might be a little bit worse, a little bit weaker, because we don't necessarily attack using special energy, which is what it's designed to stop. Now, I'm going to jump straight in here with an Ultra Ball. We'll discard 2 items that we don't care about, and go searching for our Rotom Vs. Now, I've got the beautiful alt arts here. I have not incorporated those alt arts into the price guide, so if you want to play this deck, don't stress. You can still pick it up for the cost that I mentioned. It is really, really easy to find these cards. Alright, we've got ourselves a pretty solid board state. I like the situation that we're in. I'm just going to grab another Rotom here, because one of the issues with Rotom V is that it has 190 HP. Also, I didn't mention in the deck profile section, Rotom V has an ability that's very, very good. Instant Charge. You can use that, end your turn, draw 3 cards. Pretty good. Like, this is actually a really solid deck to draw cards with. And sometimes you forget just how good it can be. Like, I completely blanked on it when I was making the first little section, which is kind of strange. Now, we've got a situation here. Our Voltorb in the active is not going to be knocked out because our opponent looks like they're going to be using Trinity Charge to power up their Duraludon V, their VMAX, sorry. So we're not going to get knocked out here. I kind of attached that air balloon to the active. If they knock us out, then the extra damage can come from that air balloon in the discard pile. If they don't, we can blow it up with our Electrode and get ourselves some extra damage. I'm going to put the Choice Belt on the Rotom. We don't necessarily need it per se, but because we don't have the V-Star yet, we might find that we miss out on that damage, but look at that, we've managed to find it. We've also got our beautiful tower combo here, where we can discard some of those tools and get ourselves some extra draw, and what good draw it is. We've got double Rotom V-Star here, we've got a whole bunch of tools in the discard pile. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, plus we can also get rid of one here with a Quick Ball if we want. We could go and get another one with Electrode if we'd like. We don't necessarily need to. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we're dealing enough damage to knock this Arceus out, and at the moment, Scrap Pulse will do that. We're going to be doing between 110 and 270, so we're going to do 80, 40, 160, 220, plus the Choice Belt gets us... Sorry, not 220. My maths was wrong. Anyway, we got the knockout. It doesn't matter. We did the maths to a point that was acceptable, and we got the KO. Plus now we've got a second Rotom on the bench if we need it. If our opponent gusts the Electrode, that's fine. If they knock out the active, which they can do thanks to that Choice Belt, we have an Electrode that we can use to get our second Rotom powered up. And this is where you're going to see the real power of Rotom V-Star, because even though our opponent has just removed all of our energy from the field, we are going to be able to have a massive, massive turn here. Ultra Ball, super, super good. Let's start off by using Tower of Darkness. We want to build our hand to as big a size as possible so that we can get a big, massive conversion star off. But first we'll use Electrode. We'll give our opponent a prize, that's fine, and allow us to accelerate some energies to our Rotom in the active. Wait for them to take their prize. Then, if we want, we can search for another Rotom V, which would be great. We can do that with our Quick Ball. We've got how many tools? 1, 2, 3, 4 in there at the moment, because remember, we lost zoned them last turn, so we need a few more. Let's Quick Ball away that Big Charm. We're going to go and grab another Rotom. So we'll throw that down. We might even attach the basic energy in our hand to that Rotom if we want to. We probably want to get ourselves some extra cards. I'm thinking we Ultra Ball away a couple of cards, grab ourselves a Crobat. It's probably not a bad idea. And then we can probably just play that Crobat here. We'll hold the Quick Ball so that we can discard again if we need to. Now let's Dark Asset and see whether we can get ourselves some extra tools. I've got a Quick Ball here. We'll get rid of that Scroll. No tools left in our... no basics left in our deck. We can remove their tool, which is good. And then let's get cracking. We can research, draw 7 more cards, and you can see how quickly we get through the deck here. It's actually incredible to think about. We've got a Choice Belt, we've got Ultra Ball if we need to, but at the moment Scrap Pulse is doing 350, which is incredible. We'll get rid of these 2 scrolls, these single strike scrolls. We don't need those anymore. We have 7 cards left in the deck, so at the moment, we are absolutely loving life here. We can Scrap Pulse, and let's do the maths properly this time. 80 plus 40 is 120, 160, 200, 240, 280, well, 3, there's a whole bunch actually. I've lost count. I think that's enough. That's 350, I think. Yes, okay, beautiful. I confused myself, but that's okay. We did enough damage to get the knockout. Hopefully, by the end of this video, I will have figured out how to count by 4s. But you can see how powerful that attack can be. We've just taken a knockout on their only attacker in play. It is impossible for them to take a knockout on this Rotom. Next turn, as long as we can get enough tools in the discard pile, we will win this game. This Arceus has 220 HP. We will be dealing 80 plus 1 is 120, 160, 200 plus the 30 from our Choice Belt. We need 3 tools in the discard pile, which I am more than certain we can manage. And a boss into the Radiant Gardevoir means that our opponent has nothing to do as well. All we need is to ensure that we have enough tools. There are 2 in our hand. One of them needs to go on the Gardevoir though. So we'll have to, you know, we'll be flying by the seat of our pants just a little bit, but that's okay. We can make it work. Just so long as our opponent doesn't somehow get a Duraludon in play, which they can't, we should be fine. So, wait, our opponent will Trinity Charge, and now the real test begins. Can we get these tools into the discard pile in a manner that allows us to take a knockout. It's our turn. We will draw. We've got another scroll, which is fantastic. Let's just Tower of Darkness that scroll away. We don't need it. We do need extra cards, though. We can quick ball away a Big Charm here, which would be good. We've also got Marnie if we need it, but I'm not suspecting that we will. Ultimately, all we realistically need to do is get a big KO here, and I think we should be fine. How many tools are there in the deck? Sorry, there's one Big Charm left in the deck, so we may well be able to get an extra one in there as well. Let's Speed Lightning, see whether or not we can get that extra tool. The Ultra Ball and the Big Charm coming out here, that's fantastic for us. We can't play this Ultra Ball, apparently. Apparently that Ultra Ball's not allowed to be played. Okay, well, that's fine, because we can still Conversion Star. Okay, apparently our V-Star power is also broken. PTCG Live is a fun game that is perfect and there are no bugs. It's very strange that we can't do that, but it's fine. We've got enough tools in the discard pile anyway. Let's just blow them all up here. 4 is more than enough. We can Lost Zone those, do 270 damage. It's a good thing that we didn't need to knock out an Arceus V-Star there, because we actually wouldn't have been able to do it. I wonder why that bug happened. That's very strange. Time to get going once again, and we are up against Arceus V. This time, though, an Inteleon package in the back, so probably not looking at a Duraludon deck here, but definitely interesting. I will say, something else that's interesting is our current hand. It's interesting in the sense that it's not very good. We've got Tower, though, so we can at least draw a couple of cards. So let's use Tower of Darkness. We'll discard the scroll that we just drew into, and a Research. Okay, so not amazing, but definitely not the end of the world. Let's play this Professor's Research. We'll just discard these cards. Oh my goodness, this is atrocious, this start. I mean, we've got an Ultra Ball, so that's good. Let's get rid of a Marnie and the Tower, and I think the key, we just want to make sure that we can get a Rotom into play. So let's throw that down. We've got an Energy that we can play. We could also Crobat here if we want to, but I'm not sure that we necessarily have to. We might just Instant Charge. I think Instant Charge is fine. We'll draw 3 cards here. I just don't want my opponent to be able to take an easy 2 prizes. That Crobat could be knocked out conceivably by an Arceus V-Star, but Rotom V would require them to have a Choice Belt or a Zigzagoon. Choice Belt's not going to happen because there's already a Big Charm. So I feel like the Rotom is safe. I'm a little concerned. If it does get knocked out, then we are obviously going to be in trouble. In fact, it's probably just a losing game at that point. Yeah, we'll definitely be in a little bit of a difficult situation. But I can also say, the best part about Rotom is even if you don't find the V-Star, you can still attack with the basic. It has pretty much the same attack, except instead of base 80, it's base 40. So you're looking at a ever so slightly weaker version of the attack that can still do enough damage. Now, we are seeing a boss here from Amar the Great, which is a big concern. They're going to throw down the Arceus. They've got a boss from that Drizzile. Now, I know that they are going to be able to get 180 damage from this Trinity Nova. They'll be reduced because of the Loving Veil effect from Radiant Gardevoir, and then reduced again because of the double turbo energy. So at the moment, they're only hitting 160 damage, I think. But you never know. We may find that they have something else they don't. They're just going to Trinity Nova, and I feel like that's a mistake. I feel like they've attacked there thinking that they're going to get a knockout. It's interesting that they would think that they're going to get a knockout, because there's zero reason that they'd get it even without the Gardevoir in play. Definitely not perfect from our opponent, but now we're given an opportunity. We can potentially win this game in the next couple of turns, as long as everything falls into place quite nicely. We have copies of our Rotom, so we will be able to Scrap Pulse, put any number of tool cards from our Lost Zone, from our discard pile, sorry, into the Lost Zone. So we've got those. Now we just need to make sure that we find an Energy and also the V-Star to make it as easy as possible for us to try and win this game. Now we've got a Speed Lightning Energy here, which I really like. We can draw a couple of extra cards. We didn't find, though, the V-Star. How many tools we got? 1? That's not a lot. Not a lot at all. Okay, we're going to have to quick ball here. I'm going to get rid of the Big Charm. Let's see, is there anything that we could realistically get to try and help us out? I don't think so. We might be looking at a half hit here, just with our scrap shot from Rotom V. So we can... Oh, 320? How would we be doing 320? That doesn't make any sense. And I've already clicked retreat. I literally saw it. I clicked retreat and saw it that we could do 320. How are we doing that much? Did I miscount my tools in the discard pile? I did! Oh, I did. Oh no, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Alright, well now we're going to see whether we can get there from behind. I thought we were short. And the second I clicked on the Rotom and it tells you the maximum amount of damage you can do. Oh, and I had already clicked retreat. Oh well, sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes you just make mistakes, and this is one of them. But luckily, we do have access to some cards. We've got Ultra Ball in our hand. We can get ourselves that V-Star. We've got Speed Lightning. We've got Voltorb in play, so we can power up a second Rotom. We are not in a bad spot. And our opponent's going to go to a very awkward 5 prizes remaining after knocking this Gardevoir out. So I feel like everything is going to be okay. It looks as though our opponent is having a bit of a struggle over there, which is odd because they're playing Arceus and Inteleon. They should be able to Starbirth for stuff, but we are currently in a fine spot. We've gone from absolutely winning the game to maybe winning now. We'll see. We'll see how we go. We've got a Rotom to promote, which is good. And a couple of good cards in hand. Alright, let's get back to it. We've got a scroll. We can discard that with our Ultra Ball or our Quick Ball. We can also Speed Lightning at some point, but I think I just want to Ultra Ball these tools away first. We'll go and grab ourselves that V-Star. And we haven't used the V-Star power yet. Maybe this game is the game that we do it. I'm thinking we use the Speed Lightning now to draw into a couple of extra cards. An EXP share would be incredible, but unfortunately, the 2 energies on our Rotom are actually just our Speed Lightning. So let's Scrap Pulse. We're doing 80 plus 40 is 120, 160, 200. Need to make sure that I do the maths. 200, 240, 280, 310. That should be enough. How did I get the number wrong? I said 320. Oh, we got that. It was fine. We counted an extra 30 up. I was right. It should have been 320. Oh my gosh, maths is so bad. My maths is so bad. It's not gotten better in the break that I took, by the way. As you can see, I have not gotten any better at figuring out what is going on when it comes to maths. I just don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, anyway, we're in a spot now. We're in a bit of a spot. Our opponent is also in a bit of a spot by the looks of it, and it's so hard to understand. These Inteleon decks are so good at coming back and being consistent. It's very awkward to see our opponent sitting here with an Arceus V and a quick shooting Inteleon and not being able to put the kind of pressure on that they need to. We need to find ourselves an Electrode this turn. Now, we've got 12 cards in our deck, and we've got Research in hand, so it's not going to be tough, per se. But it's definitely a bit risky. We are getting to the point of the game now where we really need to put as much pressure on as we can. And so, if we are unable to find an Electrode, we probably go on to lose. Like, it's going to be really, really hard for us to win the game. Our opponent now going for a quick shooting. They're probably going to quick shooting the benched Rotom. That would be the place that I would expect it to go. They take a knockout with Power Edge anyway. So it doesn't matter whether they have the V-Star or not, but I will say this much, it gives us another chance to be successful. As long as we find Electrode, we should be able to attack, we should be able to knock out. Let's see how we go. We have another Baby Rotom. That's a pretty good card. It's definitely not ideal though, because we're going to go down to 2 prizes remaining. There is an Electrode in the deck, and there are plenty of tools. But the issue we're going to find ourselves with is we might not have any copies of energy left after this research, which is going to be very, very awkward. We'll play down this Rotom, we'll put down the EXP share, just in case we whiff, and they take a knockout. There is the Electrode though, and we have 3 tools in our hand that we can use. We can discard those tools and give ourselves a chance to knock out. There's the energy. We only have 2 cards left in our deck. It's going to be a little bit grim here. Our opponent taking a prize off of the Electrode, but they don't have any way to take a knockout in the next turn. And let's check, how many tools do we have? We have 3 at the moment, plus the 2 that we're about to discard. So that is pretty gosh darn good. We're going to grab the Rotom and leave. Actually, no, we don't. We need to leave it there, because if we don't leave it there, then we can't use the Ultra Ball to discard the last tool that we need. So let's go. We're going to put 1, 2, 3. I think we need 4 because we're attacking with the basic. I think it's 4. I think it's 230. That should be beautiful. So yeah, we needed to leave the V-Star in the deck, right? Because if we didn't leave the V-Star in the deck, if we took it out of the deck, then we would not have had any cards in deck when we went to use Ultra Ball, which would mean that we wouldn't be able to use Ultra Ball, which means that we wouldn't be able to discard the cards, which means we wouldn't be able to win. So, trust me, just trust me, we didn't need the V-Star there. Now, we do have a massive issue. If they take a knockout, they win the game. They only need to deal 170 damage. With quick shooting, that's 140. That means if they've got an attachment and a Melanie plus choice belt, they probably win. But a water attachment is not enough to win themselves the game here. They're obviously hoping that we don't have a way to bring that Arceus out into the active, but we do. We have the Serena in our hand. So as long as this Arceus V doesn't evolve into a V-Star this turn, we should be able to win the game. We should be able to win the game. Now, I'm just thinking here, maybe we didn't need the choice belt on the active. Maybe we didn't need the EXP share on the benched Rotom. Maybe we shouldn't have played those because we, at the moment, only have 1 tool in the discard pile. But that's okay. At the moment, as long as the Arceus V doesn't turn into a V-Star, we should win, and that is what has happened. And we also top deck the Rotom V, which is fantastic. We can discard those 2 tools. We give ourselves all of the cards that we need to win the game. We've got the Rotom V-Star in hand. We've got the Serena for the Gust, which is brilliant. Select the right option, bring it out, and then Lost Zone all of our tools in the discard pile for a massive 2 prizes. As you can see, Rotom is an incredibly powerful deck. I can 100% recommend it. And you can also play one of these decks up here if you'd like to. You know, click that button and check out something else that's pretty cool on the standard ladder. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.